Hi, my name is Naman, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to work with the last 20% of vibe coding an application. It's the toughest part, and it's what most vibe coders coding with AI struggle with. So you have a basic prototype, a simple prototype of your app ready, but how do you make the app ready to publish to users? How do you publish it to users? How do you integrate backends, databases, APIs? How do you create an authentication system for users to log in and sign up? All of that good stuff, I'm going to teach you how to do that in vibe coding in this video. I'm going to be using Leap.new for this tutorial, and you can use any vibe coding tool that you want. I'll show you why I prefer Leap.new as we proceed, but let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is add authentication to our vibe coded application. So when we publish our app, users are going to need to be able to log in and sign up, and we need to be able to manage the users, and we want to be able to do all of this very easily. So we want to add authentication and user management to our application, and we're going to be using Clerk for that. So Clerk is right over here, and this video isn't sponsored by Clerk or anything, but I have used a lot of websites and applications where I've seen authentication systems built with Clerk. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Clerk, which allows us to manage users in our app, and it's very easy. And the reason we're using Clerk is because it integrates with a lot of vibe coding tools like Lovable, Leap, and it's pretty easy to work with. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Start Building. I'm on clerk.com, and I'm going to click on Sign Up right over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create an account. So as you can see, it says Secured by Clerk. So when we add Clerk authentication and user management to our application, it's going to look exactly like this. So for our app, which is completely different, whatever we're vibe coding, this is what it's going to look like when a user tries to create an account or sign up. So it's pretty good. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an account with Clerk, and then I'm going to continue. Alright, so after creating an account with Clerk, it's giving me this interface. So it's asking me to set up the login and how users are going to access the application. So whenever you log into an app, you might see that it allows you to log in with email, it allows you to sign up with Google, Facebook, Apple, Github, your username, your phone number. So whatever you want to enable, you can do that. For now, I'm going to keep it very, very simple. So we're going to keep it as email and Google, but whatever authentication you want users who are going to access your app to be able to use, make sure to just tick that box right over here. So for example, over here, you can see all of those options will start being visible. So I do Facebook, so now there's the user can sign in with Google or Facebook. So Clerk is very good when you're vibe coding because it integrates with these vibe coding tools pretty easily. And it's just like any other high-end website that allows you to sign in with all of these services. So you can add all of this. And for now, I guess it's saying that we can't add more than 3, which is fine because we don't need to add so many anyways. So I'm just going to remove all of these except Google and phone number. All right, so we have email and Google, and now I'm going to click on Create Application. But before that, so Leap.new has been very generous to offer us a guide on how to implement user authentication in a vibe-coded application. So we're going to do this later, but what we're doing right now is we're creating an account on clerk.com, and we want to create an application in the Clerk dashboard. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this application. And it's going to give us 2 keys now, a secret key and a publishable key. So we're going to use those keys in our application. Alright, so now I'm here, Clerk brought me here, and I scroll down and I can see that there are 2 keys right over here. So one is a publishable key, and second is the secret key. So what you want to do is you want to copy this to your clipboard, and I'm going to do that in just a second. But this is all we need from Clerk. So what's basically going to happen is Clerk is now going to handle our user management and our authentication. So anybody comes to our vibe-coded app or website as a user, they can log in and sign up seamlessly. They won't even be able to tell the difference, whether it's vibe-coded or whether it's a normal application. It will be normal user authentication. So that's what Clerk does here. And before that, we need to actually build the app. So I'm just going to vibe code. I'm going to write a very basic prompt here. Let's just say, build me a personal productivity dashboard, make it super good looking, and give it a black and red color scheme. All right, so this is a very simple prompt for an app that I'm going to build. Whatever app you're building, it doesn't matter. Now we're going to look at the authentication part. So over here, he has a pretty good prompt provided to implement authentication. So implement authentication using Clerk, store the secret key using secrets, and the publishable key as an environment variable in configuration.ts. So I'm just going to copy this prompt right over here, and I'm going to add it to my prompt over here. So I add it over here. And so this is a pretty decent prompt. Now this is for Leap.new, but depending on whatever vibe coding tool you're using, you can set up Clerk integration in exactly the same way. So for example, Lovable, they provide details on how to do it as well. It's pretty much the same process, but whatever vibe coding tool you're using, try and integrate the authentication this way. So I'm going to hit enter, and let's wait for it to ask me for my secret key and publishable key that we got right over here. So it's going to prompt me for that, and then I'm going to give it to it, and then we're going to see how it gets set up. Alright developers, so Leap has built the app for me. All I've done is I've gone into preview and I've opened this into a new tab, and this is what it looks like. So it's like we asked for a red and black color scheme and a personal productivity dashboard. So the authentication that has now been set up is, when I click on sign in to get started, this is what I see on my screen. And this is exactly what we created a few minutes ago. We set up Google and we set up email address. Now, if you wanted to give your users more abilities to sign in with different services like GitHub, Microsoft, Apple, or Facebook, we could have done that as well. But this is the authentication system. So now when any user visits your vibe-coded application, they can log in and sign up this way. So if I click on sign up, we can sign up. If I want to sign in, I can sign in. And you will be able to manage this very easily within your application as well. So on both ends, this is very beneficial. Now the users can sign up and log in, and you can handle all of the backend pretty easily. So the way we want to finish this is by simply adding in our publishable key and secret key over here. So first let's start with the publishable key. So Leap.new allows me to, separate the front end and back end pretty easily, which is very nice. But whatever vibe coding tool you're using, you want to go to configuration.ts, which is a pretty common file in most vibe coded applications. If not, you can ask your AI for what is the equivalent or where this key would be stored, or you can ask your AI to prompt you for your keys. You can give it to it and it will insert it in the code wherever required. So over here, this is where the publishable key lies. So instead of this is the test key, we're going to put in our actual key that we generated right over here. So I'm going to copy this key right over here. It's also pk_test_something. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, and I'm going to head back over here, and instead of this, I'm going to put in this new key. All right, so I'm going to put in our new key. All right, great. And we also want to enter in our secret key. So I'm going to go to infrastructure. So this is one other thing that I like about Leap.new. Everything is very clearly organized. Preview, architecture, infrastructure, and service catalog, and the code, obviously. So infrastructure, and right over here, you see the secret key. So we're just going to copy our secret key now, and this secret key will be deleted as soon as this video is uploaded, so please don't try to hack me or anything. Alright, so now I'm going to head back over here, and we're going to put in this secret key. Alright, so I'm going to say update secret. And now we have that working. So now if we test our application with an actual login and sign up, it should work. One more thing that I think you should see is that Leap.new does reflect that I've manually made a change in the code. So it's saying I've manually changed the code in this particular file. I've removed one line of code and added one line. So you can actually see that as well. So you can view that, and that's fine. All right, so now we want to test our authentication system. So I'm going to head back over here, and let's click on sign in to get started. So it's going to show us this, and we have to create an account because we don't already have one for our personal productivity dashboard. So I'm going to put in, let's say, Naman C. Gupta @gmail.com. And for my password, I'm going to enter in a password, and I'm going to click continue. So now I've put in my password, and I'm going to click on continue, and let's see what happens. So as a user, it also has CAPTCHA. All right. And now it's going to say that it sent a verification code. So this is what is super awesome about this authentication. When you're signing up as a user, think of yourself signing up to any pretty good application. It usually has this verification code system. It usually has all of these options. So all of this is seamlessly integrated into whatever app you're building with vibe coding because of Clerk. So that's why I love using this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to my email, and I'm going to paste the verification code over here, and I'm going to click on continue. Okay, so immediately after I entered in my verification code, it brought me here. And this is my vibe coded app. Now obviously it's not going to be a great application because I only built it with one prompt to the AI, but I'm pretty sure you guys are all familiar with vibe coding and the first 80% of building the application. So you can get the app that you want. This video is going to be more centered around the last 20%, so I'm not going to go into making this app look a lot better or work a lot better. But as you can see, we have now set up authentication. So when we deploy and publish this app, any user will first have to sign in, create an account, and do all of that before getting to access the application. And now you can tell your AI to integrate it in different ways. Maybe you want a sign up button on your navigation bar. Whatever you want to do, you can do that. But at least now you have the basic authentication for users sign up and log in set up. So that's pretty much it. So now any user who logs in, creates an account, will then have access to the application. So this really depends on the context of the application that you're creating. If it's a website, then you might not need this exact type. But if it's one that provides particular services to particular users, like a fitness tracking app, then yes, you would need this. So if it's for particular users who maybe have a subscription, or it's based on you want users to be able to create accounts and have their own personal experience on the application, then yes, authentication for users is a must, and this is how we've done it using Clerk. One more thing for authentication is that as soon as I created that account on my personal productivity dashboard that I vibe coded, Clerk immediately reflects that over here. So it's saying that a user with the email address namancgupta@gmail.com signed in on September 16th and created an account on September 16th. So, and I can even click on view all users if I make more accounts. So whatever users are using your application, you can manage those users and you can view the accounts that they've created when they're signing in, all of that through Clerk. So Clerk is very seamless when it comes to user management, and it's very popular because of this very reason. So that's pretty much it for authentication. So now users, for the user's end, they can create accounts and they can log into your app, and they can create accounts and handle their own personal experience on their app. And for you, who's the creator of the application, you can now manage those users and see what's happening through Clerk. So all of it is seamlessly integrated through Clerk, and obviously whatever vibe coding tool you're using can also guide you throughout. So Leap.new is specifically built for all of this. So the last 20% of an application, so Leap.new is very helpful. So if I have any questions on what's going on or how I need to work with Clerk or how I need to handle the users, you can always just ask the AI, and this applies to any vibe coding tool for the most part. All right, so the next thing we're going to cover is deployment, and that's very, very easy with Leap.new. So let's say you have an application that is ready like this, and you have authentication inbuilt, you have a backend, you have some databases going on, and you want to deploy this app to users. So whatever vibe coding tool you're using, you will always see a deploy button or a publish button in the top right corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that. And when you do that, you get instructions. So whatever vibe coding tool you're using, each vibe coding tool has their own instructions on how to deploy and publish applications. Now those are pretty straightforward, and Leap.new is a lot better in my opinion because it gives you the option to connect cloud. So AWS or GCP account, Google Cloud Platform, or Amazon Web Services, you can connect those accounts and deploy to your cloud as well. You can have custom domains. Custom domains is available in a lot of different platforms. And so custom domains basically means if you want a particular domain name that is specific to your application. So anybody types in a particular URL, a particular domain, and they go straight to your app. So that's what custom domains is. And so it's pretty simple. All you have to do is click on this deploy button and you will get a live URL. So I'm going to click on deploy and let's see what happens. All right, so it's loading and let's wait for it to give me the deployment. All right, so now it's initializing, it's building infrastructure, and then it will deploy. So all we have to do is just wait for it to deploy the application. And it's very similar to a lot of other vibe coding tools, but it is a lot better because of the cloud feature. So if you're using any vibe coding tool, you click on deploy and it will take a couple of minutes, and then it will give you a URL where anybody can access your application. So anybody, no matter where they are in the world, with an internet connection will now be able to access your application. So that's what's really cool about deployment. It's very, very easy. And because of these vibe coding tools having all of these features, it's very, very convenient to deploy these apps. So it's very, very easy with Leap.new. As you can see, everything is completely seamless. I don't have to do anything extra. Leap.new is handling everything for me. So I'm just going to wait for it to deploy the application, and let's see what it does then. So it should give us a URL, which we can use to access. So deployment should only be done once you're 100% sure that your app is perfectly working. So you want to test out your app a little bit, but I'm just deploying it right now to demonstrate how to deploy. Obviously, our app is not production ready yet, but this is just to give you guys a demonstration on how deployment works. All right, so as you can see, I have a URL, https:// and a long URL. Now, a lot of people don't prefer a URL like this because this is only used for initial stages of your application. When you want to actually deploy the app to a large number of users, you should use custom domains, which means you have a custom domain over here that you choose. So you can do this in a lot of different ways. I've seen Tools like Replit give you a lot of options. Lovable gives you a lot of options. And Leap.new also has custom domains options. So if you want to click on learn more here, you can do that as well. So using your own domain for your Leap application. But this is the basic deployment. So now if I click on this URL, it will take me to the app that we have just vibe coded. Right? So this is the app that we just built, and this is the app that is working. So that's how deployment works. It's pretty easy. So whatever app you want to deploy, it's already built into your vibe coding tool. With Leap.new, you get a lot of additional options like cloud, custom domains, and a lot of other cool stuff. Okay, so one of the most popular questions that I get is how do we save the code? How do we store the code that the AI has generated for us? And it is very, very simple. So a lot of vibe coding tools give you the option for GitHub integration, and Leap.new does as well. So what GitHub integration basically means is that you can store, save, and share your code to GitHub. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with what GitHub is a platform that is owned by Microsoft, and it's a very popular place where software engineers, developers, and builders share their software code. So all we have to do is click on connect, and it will prompt a window where we can now enter in our GitHub account details, or we can create an account with GitHub. And after following through with that, all of our code from this application will be stored onto GitHub. So it's a very simple process, and it works with a lot of vibe coding tools. So Leap.new does have this inbuilt, and that's a really, really great feature because a lot of people struggle with how do we save the code that the AI has generated for us. Now, another thing that I have seen a lot of non-technical founders and builders do is they go into each and every single one of the individual files and they save all of the code, they copy the code, and they paste the code into their code editor, and then they create those folders there, they rename the files over there, and they basically replicate all of this into their code editor. Now, that is possible. It does work most of the times, but you do need to make sure that your file naming is correct and that your code editor is completely configured to handle all of the programming languages, all of the data types, everything. So you want to make sure that all of that is set up. And if you guys want a particular tutorial on that, I can release that as well. Let me know in the comments on how to save the code directly from these code files, copy and pasting into your code editor. So that is possible, but it is monotonous, tiring, boring, and tedious. So I would recommend that you directly integrate it. And this is also helpful for version control. Okay, so we've already covered a significant part of the last 20% of vibe coding. Authentication, user management, user login, user signup, and deployments, and saving and accessing your code, all of that. Now, there are a lot of other things that you might want to add to your app. For example, the ability for users to pay on the app, or payment integration. Now, Leap.new offers us a very easy payment integration through Stripe. So if I head over to Leap's documentation over here and I click on Stripe integration, it shows me Stripe integration over here. So Stripe is a payments platform, and I can integrate it into Leap following these very simple instructions. So we just describe our payment needs. So for example, if I want users to be able to pay when they hit 30 days of using the productivity dashboard, I can describe that. If I want 3 tiers of payment, like a subscription model, I can describe that, whatever I want. And then I can describe that I want to use Stripe or whatever payments platform I'm using. And then it's going to generate all of the integration by itself. So Leap does all of that for you. You don't have to do it. And then you add your API keys like I've shown you for the authentication. It's a very similar process. So if you guys want a particular special video on Stripe integration with Leap, I can release that as well, or payment integration. Let me know in the comments. Now, as far as backend and databases are concerned, that's one thing that I love about Leap. The backend was already made for us entirely. So unlike a lot of other vibe coding tools which emphasize on front end, Leap emphasizes on backend equally. So we have a production ready application, even though all we've done is write a couple of prompts and nothing was specific for backend. So Leap.new constantly maintains the level of quality in the backend as well. So I already have a fully ready backend, and if I want, I can make changes in the backend, but I already have a fully working backend completely available to me and completely present within my application. So this part of that last 20% of an application is automatically covered when I'm using Leap, because Leap maintains the backend and builds the backend for me. So I don't have to simply just work on the front end with vibe coding. Leap gives me the entire backend capabilities as well. So one of the best parts about Leap is the API integration. So for example, Stripe, but let's say you want to add AI features. So since we're building a personal productivity dashboard, let's say we want users to get suggestions on the best tasks and goals and habits and time that they can set in a particular day. So AI gives them suggestions on that. So in order to add those features, we can integrate some really nice AI company services like Anthropic or OpenAI and use their models for integration. So all of that is laid out here. I'll leave these links in the description if you want to check them out. So Anthropic integration, if you want to add Claude AI capabilities, if you want to add GPT models, you can use OpenAI's integration. And it's very simple. It's exactly what we've been doing throughout this video. So we describe our AI needs, or in this context, if you're using Stripe, then describe your payment needs. Leap generates the integration using their API, and then you just add your API key. So it's a very simple process for any integration that you want to add. And doing this, you can add your final touches to your application. So whatever integrations you want, whether that's Anthropic, OpenAI, Stripe, whatever services you want to start adding, you can do all of that, and it's seamlessly integrated by Leap for you. So that's pretty much it for the last 20% of an application. You get all of the good, heavy stuff ready, and then you add the minor integrations and features that you want to make the app ready for your users. So that's pretty much it. If you guys want any specific tutorials, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you want to try out Leap, I'll leave a link in the description for you to check it out. Peace.